Today I am here with my friend
Jennifer Guskin,
and we need your help. We are right now working on advocacy for combating human trafficking, and here's why. So we'll give you a little bit of background of our story and why we're doing what we're doing.
I was adopted as an infant by a couple who sold me throughout my childhood. I have been to Epstein Island and on multiple Lolita Express types of flights as a child. After I went public, Child Protective Services opened a substance-exposed newborn case, even though all tests came back negative, and they told me that if I wouldn't stop posting on social media, I would never see my daughter again. I started to connect how I was adopted as an infant and then sold throughout my childhood, how many other children who have been through the adoption, foster, and CPS pipelines have also been trafficked to Epstein's Elk.
And as many of you guys know already, based on the work that we do at the Karis Project, I'm an American Indian born in Canada under the Jay Treaty. My father and I were exposed in the improper contagion mitigation for the COVID pandemic in early 2020. As a result of this, I lost everything: a house, cars, corporate assets, jobs. Bank accounts were shut down in Canada, and I fled to the US as an American Indian, fully documented, and was trafficked by rogue agents in ICE and other agents in the government, and forced to live with single American men. I was even imprisoned for 7 months initially, and then trafficked throughout the states. Put on full surveillance tracking and wasn't allowed to leave the city house or state without permission or work without permission. And that happened for many years, and I was on and off the streets because of that, and in and out of shelters. And that is just a small example of what many go through in this trafficking system, be it the family courts or otherwise. So that's why the Karis Project will be going to DC to speak with representatives and do live reporting. We're also going to be in contact with other families who are dealing with human trafficking, and through the CPS courts or through any other means, lesser versions of trafficking, and doing reporting on them live and otherwise. We will also be working on we ultimately want to shine light on what's going on with the trafficking here in the US. And we also want to meet with various agencies in DC, and we'll be going back and forth for training sessions and other things so that we can be better equipped to help people deal with resolving some of the issues that we're seeing. We will also be putting forth petitions in government to help people get justice, and that's something that we have been working on already so far. We have some petitions that have recently been filed in the state of Colorado, Michigan, Texas, and Arizona, and we will be continuing.
But we can't do this on our own. We will be traveling to events and training courses, as well as DC on a consistent basis. We also have to get acceptable equipment, such as computers, cameras, interview gear, etc. There will be other miscellaneous costs that would also be like gas, food, and rooms if necessary.
So that is why we are working towards combating human trafficking, and that is exactly why we need your help. We cannot do this alone, and most what the Karis Project does is on its own dime. And so we do love and appreciate each and every one of you that support us and all the work that we do. As many of you know, we also live stream on Lindell TV every day. And everything we do, like I said, is on our own dime. So we appreciate all the love and support and all the people who do donate. And we would very much love and appreciate that still. Thank you, everybody, for your time and considerations. And thank you for all the support. And we will catch you guys in the next one, and hopefully we might see you guys in the future and come across you and maybe be able to do some great things together.
Bon matin et bonjour tout le monde. Et aujourd'hui, nous avons Gloriane avec nous pour notre émission show, le Karis Project. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Today we have Gloriane with us on the Karis Project. As you guys know, we had her on before. She is a whistleblower as well as a freedom fighter and a wonderful mom. She's actually from Quebec, Canada. And today she's going to tell us a little bit about her story, what she has gone through, and some of the things that she's been doing. So we're very glad to have you here today. How are you doing, Gloriane?
Fine, and you?
Wonderful. I'm so glad to be here. This is our first time meeting in person, so I'm very excited. Just as beautiful inside as she is outside, and I'm very much looking forward to hear what she's going to share with us today. So why don't you share to the audience what's been going on?
Okay, then yes, I was with you before with Dale and your father before to talk about all my story. I will not re-begin all in details all the story because it's so long, like it may take 2 hours just to talk about my story. But briefly, I was a lawyer during 22 years in Quebec province in Canada, and I was expert in civil law, medical malpractice for victim, and I hold a degree, a second degree in at university in health law and policies from University of Sherbrooke, and I had at that time also since 2004 my own law firm. Why? Because I wanted to choose what I was going to represent, like to follow my value, my I value, and I my career was very good. I was playing very like loud, like I was like I represent with all of my competence and my integrity, my honesty, my client, the one was seeking for justice, and the last 10 years of my career, I was holding a big case against a very big case. It was a sue against the government of Quebec, 35 millions of Canadian dollar for a victim of corruption, governmental corruption. It was a businessman that he very solid businessman, and I started this lawsuit, and it was like during 10 years. It was a very big, and we had a lot of very solid proof evidence, and we did the trial in 2020, and at the end, and it was my favorite, like the judge, like a judge very competence, and also with a lot of integrity. But at the end of the trial, at the end of the trial, that judge that I was respect very a lot, render a fraudulent judgment, and it was not the same when I was pleading at the end of the trial. I feel that he was threat. Okay, then instead to fight for the freedom, like to continue and to ask protection from the police. He just failed. And then I bring that case to the Court of Appeal, and it was like a straight appeal. And the Court of Appeal of Quebec, instead to respect their constitutional duty, constitutional responsibility, they reject this appeal preliminary because they didn't want to hear the proof. I had like a lot of evidence, very solid. And then I bring that case to the Supreme Court of Canada. This is our highest court in Canada, meaning like it's not about just anymore the Quebec province, it's about our highest court. And the Supreme Court didn't want to change the judgment, didn't want to hear the case. Even I deposited 14 volume of very solid evidence. And before that, before the Supreme Court rendered judgment, like just after I deposited that evidence to the Supreme Court of Canada, meaning the evidence was the judicial corruption, meaning that the judge protect the judge who failed, who rendered a fraudulent judgment. This is criminal. Then the judicial corruption was there to protect the governmental corruption, meaning we are not in democracy anymore. If it continue like that, then I was asking the Supreme Court of Canada to make sure that we live in a state, in a country with rule of law, and with constitution, effective constitution. And instead, then before they render judgment, the judge, the Supreme Court of Canada, the Bar of Quebec, they sue me in disciplinary. They asked me to stop this. Okay, then they deposit out the evidence. It's very, very solid. It's in French, but very solid. Then they said that they didn't want to read one page of the evidence. Not the I don't have the evidence.
They don't want to submit or read.
They don't want to read the evidence, and they admit 2 times they never read one page. I think they read the page. I'm just saying that they don't want to be involved in the criminal matters. Then they prefer to be like negligent. Yes, exactly. Then they sue me, and in the same time, then I was like as a lawyer, whistleblower of the judicial corruption, and in the same time, in spring 2021. I was also whistleblower. The only lawyer in Quebec province was whistleblower, and I'm health law expert, and I'm very competent in this matter. Then I was also whistleblower, the only lawyer in Quebec province at that time in spring 2021 about the fake safe and effective vaccine. Me, I call the dangerous experimental injection. Then and for these two as whistleblower for these two words, like the words that I used. It was very right words, but it was a truth that we didn't want to air. Like in spring 2021, not in 2023. In spring 2021, when they begin to they wanted to inoculate the children. For me, the children are like very the most important people in the world because it's the future of our humanity. When they begin to want to inoculate with a big lie. It was impossible that it was a safe and effective vaccine because it was in experimental, meaning it was still in step, third step.
It was not in the it was not in
clinical,
the
clinical trial. And also it was a new technology never used in the general population.
And there's a certain time frame, a certain amount of years is supposed to doing the testing and stuff. But before we go into that, the first corruption, to be clear for the audience, so the first corruption that you were exposing in the judicial system in Quebec was what? It was they were doing a negligence in the first corruption that you were talking about.
Okay, the governmental corruption, like the case, the main case, it was about it's a businessman. He has he was more than 50 years old. Like he started his business even at 18 years old. Like he was very early in his as a businessman, and he was very big potential, but it's a big story, but I want just to explain very fast. It's like it was like it was there was a problem in the forest economy. I will say forest, like meaning like with USA, meaning like the government wanted to help more this type of business. Then there was a special program, financial governmental program, to make sure that he move his business to a way that it will be financially all right. Even it was a financial crisis for forest business. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to explain. I didn't never know that we will go this deep. Then finally, the government agree in the financement plan to sign to give money, but in the middle of the project, they decide to not disperse
the money.
Half of the money. It was 800,000 money from the government, and half of the money they didn't want to disburse. Then it brings the bank, like it was the National Bank of Canada and the the bank of BDC in French, it's BDC, the Development Bank from governmental Canada. Them were there, they were supporting, but when the government of Quebec decided to not dispose, then it's it's like it scratch out the project.
Yeah.
And we knew after that, no, it's not we knew. There is principal competitor come to him after his business bankrupt, and he said to him, "Oh yes, it was very difficult. It was in the procedure. What I just say." He said, "Oh, it was very. You are very tough. Like we are. You are very solid." He was talking to the businessman, my client, my customer, and he said, it takes so much years with my friends to put you down. And we learned after his friends was linked with the government, and the government at that time, the prime minister was Jean Charest. Like a lot of people in Quebec know that the prime minister Jean Charest was a corrupt prime minister. And I may say he may sue me. We will do. We will redo the proof, and he will fall in jail. Meaning, like me, I'm going. I want to say the truth, but the truth, it's more. Yes, the governmental corruption, it was important, but the most important fighting for me is the judicial corruption.
Right.
Because if the judicial power in the constitution is the third power, we have legislative power, executive power, meaning governmental power in the constitution, and the only other power is the judicial power in the constitution of Canada. And the judicial power upon the Supreme Court, it's the judicial power, it's the only constitutional counterpower for if there is abuse of power of government or corruption from government. Meaning, if the judicial are not straight, if the judicial are not honest, are not courageous, the courage is necessary for the integrity, then we will not be protected. Even we have charter of, even we have constitution, the people will not be protected because the judicial will not
people applying it in practically in
exactly,
real time because they're
exactly.
being cowards. Yes. So the first thing, it sounds like there was a fraud, there was a corruption, there was a lot of foolishness that was happening. So the second thing that you're coming out with now, you're saying that you were dealing with with the actual vaccination, the medical aspect of things that was going wrong.
Yeah, I had study. I had a study, like I did, as I said, the second diploma at university in health line policies. I had study in pharmaceutical line policies. I'm not expert in every field, but I have information. I'm able to have access information. It was not hide from the company like Pfizer to say that it was still on third step in clinic trial. It was not hidden. Is the our elected representative, our MP, Prime Minister, Minister of Health said that it was safe and effective. Even the Pfizer said it was still in clinical trial step 3. Then it's impossible. It's like 1+1 = 2. And me, I was expert, and I'm still expert in health law. Then I said, what's going on? What's going on? And in spring 2021, I began to say it's an experimental injection. I was using this word, and like a lot of people look at me like, is she crazy? Like, but now we know that it's relevant, like it's the truth. And when they begin to talk about they wanted to inoculate the children in spring 2021, I said that it's a crime against humanity. You cannot touch the gene, the body of our children, because if you touch the body of the children, you touch the genetic and the body of the future of our humanity on earth. Then it's really important. Then I began to talk about this, and they sued me on these two files in disciplinary.
They sued you because you said if you use the experimental vaccination to the children, it's going to affect their genetics and the future children, and also it's going to affect their health. and it's not enough experimented for them to do that. They sue you for those two crimes?
Yeah, they sue for. I just said that it's an experimental injection, and the elected representative, our prime minister, are lying, and then they are probably corrupt, and it's a crime against humanity.
Yeah.
Meaning, I didn't detail
You just
the
gave
gene.
us-
I didn't say like the gene, and
You're expanding now.
maybe I said about the gene, but I didn't, because for me it was not necessary to know all about the injection. The two, because we didn't know so much about the injection, then we didn't have to know so much, because what I've said, I was trying to be able to prove, like,
yeah.
I was trying, and the crime against humanity, it was difficult to prove. But for me, when you say a lie about experimental injection, it's like 1 + 1 = 2. You may, there is a risk of crime against humanity. Then they sue me in disciplinary for my words in the application for leave to appeal at the Supreme Court of Canada, where I said, not in this word, I said it's a fraudulent judgment. I said in legal word, like more soft words, but I had 14 evidence. And after about the fact that I said that it's an experimental injection and a crime against humanity.
Well, yeah, you can't do forced coercion to the people for them to take something experimental, force them to put in their body, and then a lot of people were under threat that they will lose their job, or people had bank accounts shut down, like we know in Canada, lose their home, falsely arrested, all sorts of stuff if they didn't give their patients.
It's our civil law, it's our national law, it's our freedom law, like the charter, and it's our international law too, that you cannot lie to a person to get inoculate. This is like a rape, Then I was like stunning, and like for me, to have a free consent, but informed consent, the most my fight. It's more about the informed consent. You cannot, and this is it's like in health law, it's obvious, it's really obvious that you have to become informed consent. It was nothing new, but it was new that a lot of people with expertise like me said nothing. They're scared.
They're scared.
The fear, like the fear of
people lost their license for a lawyer, for a doctor, for a nurse, for a teacher, everything.
In the lawyer in a democracy, a lawyer in a democracy is a person, is a voice with like voices, like is a voice of different point of view. It may be a lawyer may be defend a pedophile. It may be defend the most, represent the most criminal person. It may also represent, like, for the people, a whistleblower, as I was, and I'm still a whistleblower. That this it's against a crime against humanity. Meaning, a lawyer in a democracy is to represent voices. Then
everyone innocent until proven guilty. Like they have everyone have to have a representative.
Exactly. It's a lawyer. It may represent, like, the worst pedophile. Do you understand how a lawyer, it's important, his voice in a democracy? As a physician, okay, as a physician like me, I was doing medical malpractice case, and for physician was testimony for us, or for the faulty physician, meaning the doctor has another responsibility. Usually the doctor has difficulties to testimony in a court, because they want to prove at 90%. They want to be sure what they said.
It's the circumstances,
the 90%. And but in the court, they have only to be sure at in civil case in 40% plus one. It's like because the both side have the same right, like to then the
you mean kind of like in a family kind of court, for example?
Medical malpractice law. Do you
medical malpractice? 40%.
50%. plus. It's like it's like, you know, the balance.
Yep,
Okay,
still.
then you have the balance. I will just show you have the balance. Okay, then it's maybe just a pen make the difference and you win. Do you understand?
Wow.
Okay,
There's
then
no shadow of a doubt. Like it's not like that.
it's not criminal. It's not criminal. It's then doctor, when he come to testimony at the medical malpractice litigation, he has difficulties because he want to be sure 99% everything he said. The judge has to say to him, no, you have to know, you have to just to be sure at 50% plus one. It's what I'm saying. It's to that
It's easier to get away with wrong things in the civil court.
Yes, but what I want to say, it's the voice of lawyers. Even they don't. I'm not saying it was not accurate what I was saying. I'm not saying it was not true what I was saying. I'm just saying that my burden of proof. It's not like a doctor. A doctor, when they get a slap on their hands from their order to say some things against the COVID-19 vaccine, I'm against the slap. But what I'm saying, we are in another field, a scientific field. Me as a lawyer, to be, because I become to be disbar. Okay, the point is this: I become to be disbar. If you disbar a person, he has the role in democracy to have a voice. It's because you take off some voice in a democracy, meaning you are not anymore in a democracy. And as a lawyer, I'm the only one in our Western world to get this barred for what I've said. Meaning, I'm not. There is some lawyer get this barred about something else, like,
but not specific to this.
About the COVID-19 vaccine point of view, and about the to a whistleblower as judicial corruption with evidence.
Yeah.
Because what I informed people in Canada, a lot of people in Canada said to me, yes, me too, I experienced judicial corruption, but the different, and I'm very sad about what they are talking to me. But what I'm saying, it's me, the difference, it's I have the proof.
Yes, so
very solid one.
The thing here is like we're discussing really the importance of the lawyers, because in democratic society, because she herself is a lawyer, but if they're constantly persecuting the good lawyers, because like she said, they will have lawyers that represent the worst pedophiles in society. They will have the lawyers that will be normal, defending real survivors or victims of actual crime. And if you don't have the actual if we don't have the actual lawyers who are defending the good people, then you're not living in a democratic society, because then only the evil will be defended and will run free. But we need to pause and take a short commercial break, so we'll catch you back on the other side.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillow is only $14.98. Queens, $18.98. King size, only $1 more. Body pillows, $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
All right, we are back. Yeah, I actually agree with what you're saying, because in a society that seems like I've seen this on both sides of the border, Canada and the United States, where the people, they will go to a lawyer, they will want someone to represent them and help them with their case, with either the medical malpractice, either the family courts, criminal things that have happened to them, a boatload of variety of things. And the lawyers, they are not doing their job. Either they are scared, they are worried about to lose their license, they're worried about coming out and saying the truth of what's happening, or they say, if you don't have the money to do this, then we cannot help you, and maybe they will drain someone financially, and then finally they will say, okay, we can't do that. So if you don't have people in a society, you're supposed to have pro se, which means you can represent yourself. But if we're being honest, in our society, it's structured a way where if you don't have the money for a lawyer, a lot of times you're screwed. If you don't have a good lawyer representing you, they screw you over. So it's like you should be able to represent yourself, but you should also be able to have a lawyer who is going to understand the law, who's going to represent you and do their job and not be afraid to do that, because then they will be helping feed the crime in the society, and it will not give you the freedom, it will actually promote the tyranny.
Exactly.
So I agree to that. So then how did you get, so then we got here.
Yeah. In 1 year, like I get this bar in March 2022. It's 3 years ago, and after I was looking what's going on, because I was still worried about the experimental injection and everything, and I start a what I see, it's in Canada, there was no class action for the big lie, the biggest lie, and the worst lie that we in the humanity.
No consequences. There
Yeah.
Consequence, criminal consequence.
The police do nothing, and the one do some things like Ellen Gross. In Ontario, she investigate about this policewoman. She's an investigator for the baby, I think, was like death, and the mom was inoculate. Then she began to investigate, and she lose her job. Then the police was not there to investigate. I'm saying, before to sue, we have to investigate. They even not investigate what's going on.
Even investigate
about the COVID-19 vaccine. Big lie.
We heard the same thing from a police people in Canada. Some of them are good. They say they're trying to investigate, but the people at the top keep cutting them. Every time they want to submit, they get cut up from the top. So then they can never progress their investigation, and they can never make the arrest. They can never help anybody.
Then and I saw that there was no class action in Canada against the elected official, against our prime minister, our minister of health. There was a class action in Alberta against the government of Alberta and the federal government in Canada. But upon me, the government, it's like it doesn't bring responsibility for the human lie and repeat and lie.
Premeditation, the premeditated effort that they made to deceive and lie and coerce and force people into this decision, because it was not like an accident, it was not human error, that it was intentional.
I don't know if it was intentional for everyone, but what I'm saying is you failed because your lack of competence, of your lack of integrity, or both. Like Justin Trudeau, it is true, it's both. But what I'm saying, they just didn't take time to study counter expertise. They just hear from big pharma, McKinsey, and they said, "Oh, this is good." Like I'm talking Prime Minister like François Legault, this is good. I have to follow. This is lack of competence, because to be competent, you have to be open mind, because the open mind is necessary to have a impartial analyze of everything. This is known in judicial, meaning some minister of health and prime minister maybe this like as you said, maybe they wanted to harm people. I don't know, but upon me, I think that's a lot of people lack of competence or just want to follow, just want to follow, not be out, not be the conspirationist,
Yeah, not every single person in every position intentional lied. No.
Yeah.
The people at the top who was making the direction, yes, they understood a lot of them what they were doing. The people in their respective fields, like doctors and lawyers and teachers and nurses and other things, I watched those people get coerced into doing the wrong thing because they were getting threatened. They would tell they would lose their job. They would take people's children. There would be false imprisonment. So those ways they were coercing people to do the wrong decision, and the people bend to the will out of fear.
Yeah, and we have to understand in down the internet global system that our prime minister are not necessarily on the top. They may be part of what you are talking. What I'm saying, it's in civil law. You don't have to have the intention. You don't have to know what you are doing.
It's outcome.
If you do a fault,
Yes.
and then you didn't know that it was a fault, you are responsible
Yeah.
of your lie, of your lack of competence when you have a responsibility. Then I saw, I said, for me, if I think about the children's future, we have to have elected representative, elected official, prime minister, who take time to study, take time to look each side, to have open mind. Then we have to our current elected official have to understand that it's enough. It's enough. You destroy the people now. Then I said, even you sue government, I think it's not the way to switch, like
to make the solution, to switch
exactly, to be in solution mode, sorry, to bring the elected official to question themselves about what they are
because
doing.
suing doesn't give any consequence, and like you said, the civil is like an outcome oriented or based kind of structure, and regardless of the people's intention, there needs to be an accountability for the egregious effects that they've done to the lives of families and children and people across the board. There needs to be people held accountable, because then you can think critically. Okay, if I'm going to do this action, I need to know how it's going to affect me, how it's going to affect someone else.
Exactly.
And if I know that I'm going to get a consequence if I make the mistake, I'm going to be more cautious about what I choose.
Exactly. They are not scared now. The elected representative, they know that the judicial do nothing. And no, but it's the judicial corruption. And it's when it's about government or elected representative that the judicial fail in Canada.
Yes.
When it's
But when it's someone else, when it's a citizen, is the harshest punishment. You arrest people for Facebook posts or convoy, whatever. But when it's elective officials,
they're scared. The judge. Then I see that in Canada, and I thought that there was no class action in the world. I knew recently that there was one in Australia, a class action against the Australian government, and also against the Minister of Health, okay, in Australia. But they just dismissed the class action recently. This last week, they will probably go to appeal. But except this Australian class action, I in 2024, I never know about this Australian class action, and I said no elected representative are sued. It's not normal, and we cannot ask, as you said before, each citizen to sue our elected representative. They don't have the competence. I don't have competence.
They don't know where to start.
Yeah, I don't have competence in mechanic. It's not everybody has competence in mechanic. Like in cars, it's me. My competence, it's about judicial and legal stuff. But it's everyone has their competence, like respective competence.
There's a lot of missing moving parts, like like when it came out about the biolabs and how the Winnipeg biolabs was transferring the bioweapons between them to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And Pierre Poilievre came out with the stack of documents that was from the government's emails that showed the transfer of that happening. And then the Congress requested the information from this. I don't know if they even got anything back or they even start to investigate, but this is all engineering stuff, mechanical engineering, and a lot of people, they don't have the competence to know the mechanical engineering or how that structure works, how that was used, that improper contagion mitigation was used to kick off all the other problems that we saw, like the mandates, the election interference, the human trafficking, the treason in Canada, US, all of that from beginning to end. And that's what a lot of people, why they have everything so separate. A lot of lawyers, they're going to look in their field of law. Doctors are going to look in their field of medicine. Mechanical engineers going to look in there. But they didn't deal with that. So the people who were, that's why I said the people at the top, a lot of them knew what they were doing because they had to take very deliberate steps to fail that mitigation procedures so that, and, for infectious disease and control, to then go straight to things like, the mandates, shutting people down, vaccinating them. Because if they dealt with the air control, the HVAC systems, the air filtration and things like that, then they would not have had to shut people down. They would not have to vaccinate or distance or mandate or whatever. We would not even be dealing with all of this. But they chose to skip this entirely. They went straight to that on purpose, 100%. Klaus Schwab, he's a mechanical engineer. So tell me why someone like Klaus Schwab put out all these information of what people should do, knowing that people will get sick and die, regardless of what comes out, and then putting people like you in the circumstances where you now have to argue something that they set you up to fail because they know they created the system already, that when the people go into it, it's a trap. They got you. And they know all the people who are going to come together in this after the fact. They won't have the beginning at where it starts. They're going to go after the fact, and they will just get all the people who want to do the good bam bam. It's like a system where it's like catching Pokemon. The ones will pop up the good people, and they're like, got you. So, and then at the end, we're kind of screwed because, like you said, then they don't have the good voices because they bar people like you, and you now have no a way to practice to protect the people around, the people who are also trying to do the pro se to defend themselves. They screw them over. They like, you don't have money, the lawyer. You don't have a good someone representing you.
Fine.
And they don't have the competence. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have the competence. And what you are talking about, I'm not against what you are talking, but me, the point, it's not everybody are ready to hear what you just said.
Yeah.
And for me, and including the judge.
Yes,
Okay?
but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's still killing people, and that's what they
Yes,
want.
and the point, it's me in the civil procedure. I don't need to go so far, Then it's I'm not against what you are saying. I'm not saying that it's true everything. It's not the point. The point, it's not the point that I want to bring. It's, I don't need this to prove that they fail in their constitutional responsibility as prime minister and minister of health. Then when I see that there was no class action against elected representative in the world for the fake, safe, and effective vaccine, except in Australia, as I said before, because I just knew, I said there is no nonsense. Then I said, okay, in 2024, 1 year ago, I start a class action. Why? Because usually, like in Quebec province, I don't know each jurisdiction, we have like 3 years to sue from the fault. It's from the knowledge of the fault or from the knowledge of the damage. But when you go out from 3 years, like, because they begin to talk.
Yeah, they have that. There's a statute of limitations, and this is why they've done it, because they make
you
it
have
seem
to
like
you have to plead about this. You may lose your case. You may, at the end of all the trial, 10 years, 20 years later, they say, oh, it's a statute of limitation.
well, that's why they try to make it seem like human error, and then by the time the people go in the circle and circle, they're outside of the time of statute of limitations.
Exactly.
And they know that, which is why it is important. Even people don't like the treason. People don't want to understand fully. People don't understand the bioterrorism or the mechanical engineering. This is why it's important, because there's no statute of limitations from this. And every different level of, teacher, lawyer, doctor, they have that statute of limitation. There's no statute of limitation for the election interference, the treason, for the trafficking, for the bioterrorism. They want people to go in their respective smaller policies because they can control those as human error.
I'm not a criminal. I was not practicing in criminal law, but it's true that there is a point that I would just pop up because it's very interesting. By example, I follow some people. Listen some people in France and in Europe in French, and nobody know here, like Christine Coton, but Anne-Marie Yim, that she was interviewed by the Shadow, Davy recently, and Jean-Claude Perez and Luc Montagnier, that they disease. But what I'm saying is, I follow also Karen Kingston in USA. She talked about the bio weapon, and what I'm saying, it's important. It's true that because we will find that it's criminal, like from some people. I'm not saying all the prime minister, but from some people it's criminal because they have to have the intention, the intent. Yeah, then it's true that it's criminal, and eventually it's true that when we will find that it's a high treason, there is a lot of people will have problem criminally. But we have to not reach that point, because the humanity, if we wait like 10 years to understand everyone, and well, the humanity with the control of technology and with all this type of inoculation may destroy the humanity already. Meaning, if we wait to let people understand,
they want people to keep taking time, and that time they've already continued to kill people, and this is why
it's for that we have to go to a shortcut strategically. It's for that
that's the quickest thing across the board.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Then I start 1 year ago a class action for all Canadians, the 40 million of Canadians, the one inoculate with lie, but the one also were oppressed. They were, discriminate because they said, no, I don't want an experimental injection from your lie. Sorry, I was going to say big voice. Sorry. I was raised on a farm, and I'm used to be with people. And c'est correct. Then what I'm saying, it's what then I said, I have to start this class action. There is the statute of limitation, 3 years, and if we reach over 3 years, they will they will say, oh, it's the statute limitation, it reach, and they will find all way to excuse. Then I start the class action. It's in French, but there is a translation on my Facebook and X. When I post about the class action, I often post the Docurium link. Then if you click on this, you will see all the procedure, French and English. The French is the original. The application of the class action, it was usually it's translated by DeepL, but for the application for class action, it was translated with a French fully bilingual. Then this I'm just showing fast. Okay, this is a class. This is the class action. I'm talking in the class action that it's a lie, and but the problem with and it's against Justin Trudeau, Patty H2, it's against. I touch minimum one elected official in each province and territories, and the federal Justin Trudeau with Minister of Health, and there is a Prime Minister or Minister of Health in each province and territories, including Doug Ford for Ontario, and Wab Kinew in Manitoba. Even he was not prime minister, he become prime minister after, and Wab Kinew say so much time like safe and effective vaccine. I said, okay, I will put it. He get his job as prime minister because he lies so much to people, and I assume, but in Quebec law, there is an obligation that when you sue, you have to have a representative, like an applicant like me, as a citizen to represent the group, like but the representative has to have a lawyer. But I said I will start to stop the statute of limitation, and maybe I was still hoping maybe they will give me back, because I was still I was still in procedure, like at Supreme Court, to get back my title. Then I said I would get back my title. Now my title is the Supreme Court fail again about my the discipline, like my title. Then I bring my the disbarment, illegal, abusive, violent disbarment to the Human Rights Council in UN, but we know that they are corrupt. Okay, but I just do to follow the process.
Yeah.
And after I send a letter, letter of notice.
Notice.
Yes, to the Secretary General of UN, Antonio Guterres. If somebody tell me, oh, you think you are important to send to him, it's not more important than us. Each human right, each human being in the world are important. The only thing that he took more important responsibility, then he has to have higher competence and higher integrity than me. I was.
When you take that job, you are responsible at a higher level and accountable at a higher
Exactly.
level than the average person, because you choose to do what's in the best interest of the whole.
But you are not more important as
No.
you
You are
for
serving to
God.
the people.
Yeah, you are not more important as a human being. Just the responsibility you take.
So
Then-
this
then when I start, I said I will maybe have back my title, or there is a lawyer in Quebec. It need to be, even it's for all Canadian, because the procedure is in Quebec province. There is 28,000 lawyer in Quebec. Then I thought maybe maybe there would be one enough, a lawyer, enough conscience and enough courage, because the courage is necessary for integrity, that it will come eventually. Never come, and it's 1 year ago. And then the other step that I start, it's a petition for unconstitutionality. This is all the proof. Like, it's not all the proof. Okay, and this petition of unconstitutionality, it was to let me represent the group without lawyer, because they disbar me. They disbar me illegally, and because I have all the competence, okay, to do
So
it.
we're gonna
Yeah.
close up. I think we have like just 2 minutes left. Can you tell people?
Let's finish the show.
I think we're running up on time. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We got ahead of ourselves. That's okay. But can you tell the people what your goal is with these documents that you want to accomplish for the people? What is the accomplish you want to have?
What I want is that the judicial system come back on their feet and come back to do their job, to be the constitutional counterpower of the corruption, the abuse of power government. And in the other fight that I hold as citizen, the other designated lawyer, I deposit at the Supreme Court another file recently, a request for revocation of the Chief of Justice, Richard Wagner, Chief of Justice of Canada. And this would be studied eventually by the House of Commons, the Senate of Canada, and the General Governor. And I be supported by notably an article from a lawyer in Alberta, Clayton Rice, that he talked in June 2020 that it's nonsense that the Chief of Justice, Richard Wagner, is involved in the political COVID committee at that time. Then he get involved, the Chief of Justice, in propaganda politic. Then after, he cannot keep this job as Chief of Justice. Then come to on my Facebook page, and also on my X account. It's the same information, both X account. It's bless underscore Gloriane, to know more about what I'm doing.
Wonderful. Okay, guys, we will also have that in the description. So I'm just gonna pray quickly before we close, and then we'll say some final words.
May I say about the donation that I need
Yes,
to continue? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just because as you hear, I get this bar 3 years ago, and I'm a young mommy, meaning like I didn't work full time at the last years because I needed to take care of my kids. Meaning, I use all the money I had in the last 3 years to survive and to continue the procedure. The procedure costs a lot because I explain everything on the page. I need your support. And if you think I'm doing this for the money, just think that it will be so easier to say, oh, I apologize and I want back my title. I don't want back my title and do and be accomplice of high treason for Canadian to Canadian. I just want a support to be solid, everyone against the tyranny.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Let's pray real quick. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for this day. Thank you for the show that we were able to have with Gloriane here. I ask that you bless the work that she's doing to help others and help good men and women to stand up and to support her in what she's doing. Help us all to work together so that we can accomplish back strength and courage and peace and prosperity in our nation and have a better judicial system. And please give us the solutions to do the same. Thank you for all that you've done and will continue to do in our lives and in our hearts and our homes. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Thank you guys for joining us here today. Merci beaucoup à tous for everything. And I ask that you guys go check out Gloriane's page. We will have her link in the description, of course. And we thank you for your time and considerations. I hope that you guys really share this. It's important. And we really need to come together and do what's necessary because we're not going to get through this fight on our own. And you need to be strong and courageous because, like she said, you cannot be accomplice to high treason, and that's where I'm coming from as well. The consequence of compliance is worse than the pain and suffering that we're dealing with today for fighting for what's right in our freedom, and that's what's important, to have your integrity, to have your mind, and to have your heart and your salvation. So let's focus on that. Thank you guys for your time and considerations. We'll see you guys in the next one. And to my dearest Karis, until we meet again, my friend, and we will.